We're switching gears a little bit and we're going to talk about how to level up our lives here a little bit. Have you ever felt burnt out about life, whether in a relationship or at work? Odds are some of you watching are feeling that way right now. Emily Ballesteros is the author of The Cure for Burnout, and she's joining me now with some thoughts on this topic and your latest book.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so thoughts on burnout. Is that why, did you have some burnout going on and that's why you were inspired to write this book?
Oh yes, of course.
So who doesn't?
I know, nowadays. So burnout is prolonged exhaustion, and I reached a point of exhaustion where I was very open to getting in a minor accident or getting sick because I just needed a break, and I didn't want to be the one to take it and feel like I was admitting I couldn't handle everything. I needed something else to take me out for a little bit. And as a result of that kind of breakdown before the breakthrough, I decided, because I had my background in industrial organizational psychology, I'd gotten my master's in it, and I was working in corporate training and development, that I would just kind of focus that professional skill set on creating a solution to burnout, because I saw that not only was I struggling with it, but it was growing in popularity, not popularity, but it was growing as an issue. And so began working with one-on-one clients once I was sure I had a solution, and then that kind of snowballed into now I primarily work with organizations and companies on burnout management for employees, because it's still running rampant.
It really is, sadly. And I love there's a chapter in your book where you were talking about your kind of breakdown with like top ramen in an aisle and stuff, and it's just very relatable. So what are the 3 burnout topics that you discuss in this book?
Yeah. So burnout's usually discussed kind of with one broad brushstroke, but there are actually 3 main buckets that people tend to fall into. The first is burnout by volume, and this is just having too much on your plate consistently. If anybody were to be plopped into your life, they would agree pretty quickly that this is an uncomfortable amount of things to try to do in a day that you don't have enough time to recover from by the next day. This is common in high achievers who tend to prioritize achievement and performance above their quality of life a lot of times. And then we have social burnout, and this is common in people pleasers who put other people's experience before their own, would rather be uncomfortable than make somebody else uncomfortable, and so they tend to over-agree to things and expend more social resources than they might have, do a lot more emotional management. This is common in jobs like nursing and teaching and social work, anything where you're doing a lot of that management. And then the last is burnout by boredom, and that is kind of being chronically disengaged from your life, feeling like you're just going through the motions, you're kind of on autopilot, and it's usually a sign of lack of novelty or variety or positive challenge.
Can you have all 3?
Yeah, luckily you can.
Sadly, but and what are some tips that, I know you have a lot in your book, but what are some hot tips that you can give folks watching today on any of those burnouts?
Yeah, so the first tip that not everybody loves, but it is to really tune into that self-awareness, and most people know the primary source of their stress or their burnout, and they can get more specific. It's not workload, maybe it's this season with this type of work, working with these types of people, the way my micromanager manages me. I'm not doing any personal care. I don't have stress management, even though I have all these stressors. You can get a little bit more specific. And then from there, looking at the 5 pillars of burnout management, the areas that if you strengthen them, you can not just improve your experience today, but your quality of life going forwards. And those are mindset, time management, stress management, boundaries, and personal care. And most people hear those and they know off the top of their head, I have actually no boundaries, or I could really tune up my time management, or maybe it's my mindset that sabotages me. Even when I do enough, I don't feel like I'm doing enough. So looking at those 5 areas and being honest with ourselves.
Oh, so important. And you're all over TikTok. And so is that kind of where you put some of these like short tips for the day, and then along, of course, with this book?
Yes, yeah. Social media is very receptive to burnout management. A lot of people go on social media to kind of escape burnout. It's one of those coping mechanisms because people are so tired at the end of the day. They just want to, rewatch a comfort show and scroll on their phone. And so I do a lot of posting on TikTok and Instagram and whatnot.
I love it. And I'm absolutely loving your book. I feel like it's going to help so many people. But what has been a lot of the feedback so far that you've heard?
I think it's written with a human edge because I experienced burnout myself. And so you get a lot of kind of the raw experience of burnout, and people are feeling seen. They're getting tactical, practical tools because this was born from coaching, one-on-one coaching, and then also trainings that I do with companies. So it's practical advice that you can apply today and then continue to see results from. And there's so many great books out there, and a lot of them have a lot of information, but I wanted to make sure that in this book you also got that transformation.
Oh, that is so incredible. It's very easy read, very digestible, and super helpful. So thank you so much for being here.